They were
right,
at high school gym.
Our guest is here.
Oh, cool.
Good morning.
Good morning there,
Hey.
Mr. Studmark there. How's it going?
This is cool, man.
Wow, that's kind of different. You know, I would figure you'd put your name on there, but Studmark there, that works for you too. How's it going there, Ken? I'm Franky. I'm the guy that sent you the invite.
What's up, Frankie? How you guys doing?
Good.
Frankie, Mad Dog, and Max.
That's just part of our crew. We still got a few more people coming in because I got a big crew, and tonight's our season 5 finale episode. So
Gotcha.
And we're proud to have you on, brother. Proud.
Oh, absolutely.
No, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, we were going to do something a couple weeks ago, but I figure, you know, since we didn't get a chance to do anything then, I wanted to wait until if we could do something like this week, because I didn't know what your schedule is, you know, because it's Thanksgiving week, so I figured maybe you're just taking some time off or doing everything for the holiday or whatever. But hey,
Always working. There's no time, no days off.
That's good.
seems like it. You've been kind of going on a lot of the. I've been following you on a lot of the podcasts lately. It's from one podcast to another, so I figured, well, I know we don't rate up to those guys' levels, but you know, we're still something, you know.
But someday we'll
everybody-
be there getting guys like this on. Damn right.
Everybody starts somewhere, you know, like fucking. We all got to look out for each other and try to help each other out. So that's my.
So true.
Absolutely. Well, we're honored to have you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Franky Slawson's Renegade Radio. It's a season 5 finale episode. We're on episode number 15, and if you're paying attention at all, episode number 86 chronologically. We're about 14 episodes away from our 100th episode. But I figure, you know, we need to kick off the finale episode, kind of like how we kicked off the whole first part of the year when we started season 4. I hear some background too, by the way. Somebody noticed the background. Is anybody?
Yeah, John Roberts.
Is that John Roberts?
It's my fucking dogs.
Oh. All right. Well, I love your dog, so it's fine.
They're down now.
Okay.
They left the office now, so they should be better.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, anyway, we are joined tonight by. I mean, how do you call it? What do you call this guy? You know, a living legend, a guy who's wrestled for WWE, wrestled for TNA, one of the biggest names out there that should have got a bigger push. You know, I think, you know, in both organizations, even I think TNA pushed them farther than WWE did. But no matter what, I'm happy to get this guy on. He is the legendary. You guys used to know him as Mr. Kennedy. Well, tonight he is Stud Muffin here on the StreamYard stream here, but we all know him as Mr. Anderson.
Anderson. Gotta say it twice.
Yeah, I can't do it as good as he can, but you know, Ken, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. You should see when I go to get a coffee order and I write that, you know, they ask for my name. And then somebody yells out, Stud Muffin.
Oh wow! Well, hey, I mean,
the best part is the look they give you when they see who it is to come and get it.
I'm a human being, damn it.
Not what I thought.
And they probably know. They probably see you and recognize right away if they're smart enough. You know, they're like, hey, you look familiar. You know, you look like somebody we should know.
It depends on where we are.
So currently, what you're living in Minneapolis now, and you have been running a school for quite a while.
Yeah, I've lived in Minneapolis actually since I moved over here in 2000. So well before I was in the WWE. But I'm originally from a small town just south of Green Bay. And obviously, I'm a huge fan of the Green Bay Packers.
Hey, now.
That, you know, but yeah, I've lived here since 2000, and I've run my wrestling school here since 2016. So it's going on almost 10 years. I can't believe it.
Wow, nice.
Wow, that's great.
Did you ever think that you were ever going to do that at all in your life? Like one day, just if wrestling kind of took a turn or whatever, or even if it was even better to you than it was, like you were still going to plan to do this?
I knew that it was something that I wanted to do very early on. I wanted to be able to offer a place where people could go and learn the art of professional wrestling and not necessarily have to not have to work as hard as I did, I guess. Not have to make all the mistakes that I made. And there is something to, people still have to hustle. They still have to put in the hard work. But I'm happy to be able to, I know what works in this business and what doesn't work. And I definitely can steer people in the right direction. If you're willing to put in the effort, I feel like I've got a good enough. I've got 25 years of experience in the business, and I've made about every mistake that one can make. And so I guess just in the same way that we hope that our kids will, we can offer our kids like, hey, don't do what I did. Go this way, and sometimes they still have to touch the stove, right?
Right.
Yeah. Why the Twin Cities? I mean, back in the day, the Twin Cities, when you had the Vern Gagne schools and it was a hub of professional wrestling, way back in the day. Is that why, or is there a personal reason that you decided Minnesota?
I just at the time I was breaking into the business, and there were a ton of independent wrestling federations over here. Eddie Sharkey was here, and it just there was only one group in Green Bay, and there were about 8 to 10 in Minneapolis. And I remember coming here the first time and feeling like the only other city that I felt this way about was Nashville, where I looked around and I felt like you could eat off the ground. It's a really clean city. It's fun. There's a ton to do. So I just love the city, and I just felt like it was a no-brainer to come over here and set up.
Cat. My name's Mad Dog. I was a professional wrestler, but not as much as you and Max were. But I did the local stuff. I wanted to stay local because I had a family. But I recently was put in the Pittsburgh Hall of Fame with Bruno Sammartino and Giorgio.
Oh.
So I worked enough to do what I had to do to get to where I was. But when I grew up, studio wrestling was our game. And I watched the WWF with Bill Cardille was the guy who sat ringside. And I grew up in a neighborhood with the Fazio and Ronnie Hook was Rocky Romano, and all the guys grew up in Mount Washington where they were all professional wrestlers. So that's why I wanted to be one so bad. I wanted to follow in them guys' footsteps. So I went to Beppo Longo's school, out on Route 8 here in Pittsburgh. And I tell you what, it wasn't no day and night classes, boy. We got woken up with a chair, and everything else. It was a tough school. But I wouldn't have gave it. I love it. I just miss every day that I'm not in the ring. Let's put it that way. Yeah,
Sure.
I was a weekend warrior. I didn't get beat up as much as you guys, but God, watching you on TV, you were my idol. You're in the background on my thing. If you can see that, I admire you so much. Your ring savvy was amazing. Same with Max. When Max come on the panel, I was just like, my God, I loved him, Max Payne. You guys, I idolized you. Even though I did it in a smaller, let's just say I didn't get my ass kicked every day. I didn't have broken bones like you got. I still got 2 knee replacements. I still got some problems with my hands. I can't straighten none of them. But it was in a smaller scale, but I admire you guys so much. That's all I got to say. I'm sorry if I took too much time saying what I had to say.
That means the world to me.
Me as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother.
So, Ken, where'd you break in?
Go ahead, Max.
Ken, where'd you get your start? Who was the guy that smartened you up to the business and took you down that road and put you under his wing and said, okay, I'll teach you the business?
It was 2 guys actually out of Green Bay, and their names were Mike Mercury and Eric Hammers, and they were two independent guys who had, at the time, I think Mike had 4 or 5 years of experience on his own. They just happened to be, they got broken in the right way, and they understood the psychology and how important psychology was in our business.
Right.
And there were a few things that they, very few things they sort of steered me in the wrong direction on, but it wasn't intentional. It was, it's actually kind of funny. I remember early on, he taught me the worker handshake, right? The little light handshake.
The office handshake.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
2-finger thumb fan.
For those who don't know, it's like I guess back in the day, to ensure that somebody actually was in the business. If like I walked up to you on the street and said, "Hey, I'm a wrestler too," and I went to shake your hand, and I'd shake your hand very, very lightly. To the naked eye, it doesn't look like it looks like we're shaking hands normally. But if I shook your hand with a really firm grip, you would know, like, oh, this guy's lying. He's not in the business, right?
This guy ain't a worker.
So I remember I did that. What's that? So anyway, one day I went and got extra work for WWE, and I went to the gym one day, and it was right after I was at a Bally Total Fitness. It was the morning before a SmackDown taping, and I remember Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn had just come over from WCW, and they were at the gym. And I walked up. I was so nervous. I wanted to make a good impression, so I walked up to Dean, and I was like, "Can I swear on here, by the way?"
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
I better make sure first.
Oh yeah.
And, I walked up to it, and I shook his hand, and I gave him that weak handshake or whatever, and he was like, "Jesus Christ, these fucking kids today, they think they shake hands like a pussy. That means they're in the fucking business." And I was just so like embarrassed, And it turns out that people don't do that anymore. Like, it hasn't been done. I still, every once in a while, will run into people in certain locker rooms that still do it. But I remember one time seeing a local guy over in England walk up to Vince and shake his hand that way. And Vince like stopped him and said, "Come here for a second." And he's like, "Shake my hand like a man. We don't do that anymore." So
that's amazing, man. I wasn't meeting Chris. Did you end up getting along good with Chris?
Yeah, I did. Yep. He was he was helpful, very helpful to me. But that was aside from that one thing, the guys that trained me were amazing. And I remember my trainer used to come over. One of the guys, Eric, used to come over to my house every Wednesday night with a box of tapes. Because at the time, VHS tapes were big, Right. He'd come over with this box of tapes, and we would just plug. And it was AWA, it was NWA, it was old WCW, old WWF, like just breaking down matches and trying to understand psychology.
Yeah,
So,
so
what was your first territory then? When did you like hit the road and like doing it every day from that point forward?
Probably it was like, I didn't feel like I really achieved that for the first 2 years. Like the first year I was kind of limping along. I had a job that I had to work every other weekend at. So I turned down a lot of bookings. Every booking happens on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday for the most part. So there was a lot of bookings that I was turning down, but I was working, one or 2 weeks or one or two shows a month for the first year, maybe year and a half. And then I really started branching out. I moved over to the Twin Cities. So I started training at Eddie Sharkey's school, and Yeah, and just really started trying to get booked every single weekend. And then I met Sean Davari. And it turns out we had very, very similar interests and very similar ideas as to how to be successful and what we wanted out of the business. So we just started trying to get booked as many places as we could. And we were trying as hard as we could to figure out, okay, what does WWE want? That's where I want to go. I want to work for WWE. How do I do that?
Okay. I remember when you were talking about the tapes and everything. Were they all like old Coliseum videotapes and stuff, or were they like recorded tapes of episodes of like Raw and SmackDown and stuff? Or
a little of both.
Okay.
Yep. There was a local tape trader who, he could pretty much get anything that he wanted, and it was anything from, like I said, AWA to old studio wrestling, Memphis Championship Wrestling. IWA Mid-South, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Wow. So you were more in the library than just your typical stuff that you see in a video store.
Definitely.
Because most video stores, around majority of areas only just had the stuff from WWF or WCW or both.
Well, and that's the thing. When I broke in, I didn't know that all this other stuff was out there. Like I was very, very. I didn't watch wrestling as a kid. This wasn't something that I like loved and yearned to do from the time I can remember. I actually didn't like wrestling. I thought it was stupid. And it wasn't until like 97, 98 when I started watching and Austin was doing his thing. And I was just like, I got hooked just because of what he was doing. And then I begrudgingly was like, well, okay, Undertaker, he's pretty cool too. And then, all right, these guys are, it was just like slowly but surely I was like, oh my God, I'm missing out on, and I've been missing out for so long. And then like when Eric started coming over to my house weekly with that big box of tapes, I just like ECW, ECW was a huge thing at the time. I didn't know that it existed before I broke in.
So what were some of your early memories from when you first started? Because I heard stories about how you kind of started out, what was it, like maybe Velocity or something like that, and you kind of did some squash matches. When did you finally actually get your first real match on TV?
So I did extra work for WWE for about 5.5 years. And it was just, every few months I would get booked somewhere, usually Green Bay, Milwaukee, Chicago, that area, those cities. And then I just kept getting booked, and there's probably 12 matches from Velocity or Sunday Night Heat. And then there's probably another half a dozen matches that I had that were just dark matches that were never televised. And it wasn't until 2005 I was at OVW, and I had been signed to OVW, and I started doing the announcer thing. I started, Paul Heyman sort of said, hey, go out there, cut the ring announcer off, do your own introduction. And I did it. I hit my last name twice, which was a big hit in the back. And you know that if it's a big hit in the back, it's going to be a big hit.
It was a big hit everywhere. Everybody loved it when you did that. It was like old time boxing when they used to hit it twice like that.
Right. Yeah, and that was sort of like where I got the idea.
Wasn't Jim Cornette all like against you doing anything? Like he didn't even want you in the picture, did he? No. I've said before that like Jim didn't necessarily see anything in me, but it wasn't like an active. He wasn't trying to hold me down or anything like that. It was just there were 60 other men and women that were trying to get called up to the active roster that were working for OVW, and I just wasn't presenting anything to him. It wasn't a personal thing at all. In fact, he had just sort of started to take a liking to me, I think, the week before he got removed from writing for OVW. So
And then when Paul Heyman came in, it was like Paul was definitely a fan of my work. And Paul said, we're going to do so much stuff with you that you are going to be the next guy out of here. And I was. So
That was cool.
5 weeks after Paul Heyman started, I was making my debut on Velocity against Funaki.
Wow.
Yeah, it said when Paul Heyman says you're going to be like a Stone Cold Steve Austin and a Rock, that's saying something, buddy.
Oh yeah. No, see that's what was so nice about your style of performance, because it's like to see somebody who cared that much about not only just the wrestling ability, but to have a good promo. That tells a lot about your character. Because nowadays in wrestling, if you can't talk, I mean, yeah, okay, sometimes it's always the quiet one that also perform better sometimes. But I think everybody can be able to say a promo, because you got to learn to sell yourself. You know?
You really do. It really is important. It's something that I tried to help my students. You know, we do promos. I always stress to them that they should have a back pocket promo, a promo that's ready to go, that's sort of generic in the sense that it can be, you know, you can be booked in any given town, and a promoter can come up to you and say, like, can you cut me a quick promo introducing yourself, or you're going to have a match with this guy, and you should be able to go. You should be able to do it.
Sure. Just real quick here, I'm still hearing a background noise from somebody. Does anybody have any noise playing at all in there, or they're around them at all? Anybody? Because it's kind of annoying. I don't know. Ken, can you hear that at all?
Oh, I can hear it for sure.
Okay. Not coming from you at all?
Yeah, I'm hearing
I would be. It would be at all.
Did it start before I came on or after?
Before.
Because I
I
can't hear
think
it.
you might be the culprit.
My wife's watching TV downstairs, but she does every time we're on the show, and it's never been an issue.
No,
So I'm up
we
in the
can't
loft.
hear that. It wasn't.
Just look around you and just to see, because I know Sam's normally the culprit, but he's muted himself. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear Ken very well, and so that we don't have any
Yeah, I
extra.
can hear it
can.
well.
Okay.
Coming in good.
I'm here dumbfounded and listening, my friend. I just been soaking
Okay,
it all.
well, I just want to make sure, because this is a very special time period of time. So.
It's not too often you shut up the Mad Dog, and you're doing a good job of it.
Well, Ken, I want to introduce you to Max Payne as well. He is one of my crew members, but I don't, to strive up your wrestling knowledge. He actually was a former WCW wrestler as Max Payne, where he teamed with Cactus Jack many times and took out the Nasty Boys. He also was Man Mountain Rock in the World Wrestling Federation. Are you familiar with his work at all?
Meet you too, brother. It's an honor.
Have you seen his work at all before, or familiar with anything at all? Or?
The name sounds familiar, but it's been a minute. I'm definitely gonna go look some. I'm definitely gonna look some stuff up after this.
It's funny because you brought up Funaki, and so the reason I brought up Chris earlier is because I broke in the New Japan dojo, and Funaki was one of the guys that was in the dojo. Funaki, Nogami, Chono, Hashimoto, Fabius Muto. All of those guys were the Justin Liger. Those guys were all the contemporaries I was in the dojo with. So when you brought up Funaki, I know that name. So
He was he was the first guy that I worked with. I think it was Franky had asked earlier, or maybe it was Max. You asked what was my first match, and it was against Funaki. It was supposed to be a dark match. They just wanted to. I remember Dreamer had called me up that week, and he said, "Hey, they want you to come to SmackDown. They want to see your gimmick." But it was just like they were taking a look at it, and so we planned this match out. I remember Fit was our producer, our agent, and the finish was to be Funaki, Fit Finley, yeah.
I was in Germany with him for 2 years too.
He's one of my favorites. One of my favorite people, just in general.
He actually is actually solely responsible for starting my gimmick in a couple of ways. But keep going. Yeah, he was huge in my life.
So it was. That's amazing. It was supposed to be a super kick finish. Funaki was going over, and I'm in gorilla position, and I'm doing push-ups, and I'm just kind of like, psyching myself up a little bit. And Dave Lagana, who was the head writer of SmackDown, comes running around the corner, and he's like, "There's been a change." And immediately my head goes to, okay, they canceled the match, which happens. TV day, the dark matches are plug and play, like take them or leave them, right? Like sometimes they need them, sometimes they don't. And I just assumed that on this day they don't need it. Okay, cool. I'll get another opportunity. And he was like, actually, this is going to be a televised match. We need to come up with a finisher for you because you're going over. And welcome aboard. And he like stuck his hand up and welcome aboard. And I was just like, okay, cool. And then Fit was like, well, what do you do? And I was doing a swanton at the time for a finisher, which I couldn't do a swanton because Jeff Hardy was still with the company. And so I had done a Finley roll. I would do a Finley roll just standing in the ring, but I had also done one time to Austin Aries off the second turnbuckle. And I was like, what do you think about that? And Finley loved it. Obviously, it was a tribute to him. And then Funaki's eyes just got huge. He was like, because it seems like super dangerous. It looks dangerous. It's scary. And I said, I promise you, dude, like if you hold on to me, just hold on to me super tight. I'll take care of you. I'll set you down gently. And he was like, okay. And he trusted me. Thankfully, Funaki trusted me in that moment. And the thing is I had been around enough. They had seen my face so many times as an extra that they sort of knew that I was somewhat trustworthy, or I wouldn't have been used repeatedly. And so, yeah, that was it. Then I went out and did that. I came back through the curtain after that finisher. And, that was another thing that Vince was like super, super happy. He gave me a big thumbs up, a big smile. And a lot of people start when you're working for WWE, and at the time when you're working for Vince, you come through that curtain and you immediately look at Vince. And if he doesn't say anything to you, okay, whatever. But if he gives you one of these, like you're good to go.
Yeah.
I would imagine him doing that to you. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's no good. You
don't want that one.
What was that one again?
He's got the fucking headset on.
Oh, I thought you were gonna give you a crown or something like that.
Yeah,
come here.
That's just a death right there is what that one is.
What the fuck were you thinking?
Oh yeah. Well, the funny part about that story is I hope that from that point forward, every green guy that you ever fucking worked with, you said, make sure you do push-ups in the gorilla position from that day forward.
So when it comes to kind of like, thinking about your career, not only in WWE, but in TNA, I mean, where do you think you got the biggest push? Because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about that only you know about, and that the WWE knows about that they could have done better with you. Because I feel like they saw you as a commodity, as somebody who can make them a lot of money, but then they kind of fucked around with your career. I feel like they could have, like, they took your money in the bank away from you, which I thought was horseshit. Regardless of the deal, there's no reason why you couldn't have been a major champion over there. Do you think TNA treated you a lot better than WWE, or was it kind of similar?
TNA definitely treated me better. TNA gave me a blank, they would hand me a script, whether it was Vince Russo or whoever was writing at the time. Like, they would hand me a script and say, this is an outline. You know, these are bullet points. You don't have to say this exactly, but just this is where we need to get to. This is the business of the match. And you know, WWE was a lot different. Although I did have a lot of like really, really amazing. Like I felt like WWE was start stop. You know, I would just get started and then I'd get an injury, or I'd get in trouble, or you know something would happen. I literally won the Money in the Bank briefcase, and I went and I did a photo shoot. I was on the cover of the magazine, and I remember having a walkthrough of Titan Towers with Shane McMahon, and Shane was like, "We're getting ready to strap the rocket ship on you," and you know, and then I worked a match, and then after a SmackDown taping, Vince called me into his office and said, "Hey, we were planning. Taker was the champ at the time, and he said we were planning on having Taker as our champion for a really long time. However, he tore his biceps and he needs to have surgery. So we're going to next week on SmackDown, which is 7 days from now, right? 7 days from now, we're going to have you come out." And he laid out this scenario of how Undertaker was going to have a match, and he was going to barely squeak by, and then somebody was going to come out and beat him up some more, and then I was going to come out and basically cash in my briefcase and pick the bones, 1, 2, 3, and we have a new champion.
Sure.
And
oh man, that'd be cool.
We shook hands. We literally shook hands. I left, and I went out. And it's the funny thing is like I'm not a big when something like that occurs to me, or somebody tells me that this good thing is going to happen to me, I don't get excited about it, because I know that it can be taken away. Believe that half of what you see and none of what you hear in the business, right? Like, people will tell you all that, oh, we're getting TV. How many times has everybody heard we're getting TV, right? And I went out that night with Michael Cole and I can't remember. He was in talent relations, Mark Carano. And I didn't even really hang out with those guys. We just happened to be in the hotel lobby, and they were like, "Let's go." And they happened to know about it. They were one of a few people that knew that was going to occur. And so they were like buying shots, like, "Here you go, kid. You deserve it. Here's to you." And I was like, "We shouldn't be celebrating. It's too early." Yeah. And the next time I wrestled, I took a bump on a house show. And it literally, like, Batista gave me a clothesline. There was nothing that he did, nothing that I did. I took a regular flat back bump, and I felt something in my tricep pop. And I rolled out to the floor, and I felt pain, and I started seeing everything swell up. And by the time I got downstairs to the locker room, it was already turning colors. And
oh, gee.
Yeah, and then I got an MRI, and they said, "You tore your triceps, so you have to have surgery now." And then Steph called me, and she was like, "Well, we still need to get the title off of Taker, so we're going to send the jet to pick you up. You're going to fly to Penn State for Raw tonight. Edge is going to challenge you for the briefcase, and then he's going to go on and do everything that you were supposed to do."
Oh, man.
Okay, cool, whatever, business, them's the breaks, right? Like, it is what it is. So I go and I do all that, and then we shake hands. I leave. They change my flight to I fly to Birmingham, Alabama. I'm gonna get surgery right away so that I can start rehabbing right away. And I'm sitting on Dr. Andrews' table, and he's got my tricep in his hand, and he's going like, that's not a tear. Yeah, that doesn't feel like a tear. And I was like, "Excuse me?" And it wasn't. It turned out that it was just a bunch of broken blood vessels, and it was a big bruise.
Oh my God!
And you missed the fucking championship just because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God!
Wow.
I
But
thought I had bad luck.
You know, Ken, I looked your name up today because I wanted to at least have some background on you. And I did one of the first things that I read was, and this same kind of thing happened to me, but I'd like you to talk about it because one of the first things that they brought up just in the main nomenclature of reading about you is the deal with Randy Orton and then John Cena. Apparently, you want to talk? I mean, is all of that true? Because it sounds like they're fucking behind the scenes.
yeah, no, what the latter part of that is the actual truth. I never hurt those guys. I never did anything to hurt those guys. It is, you know, I don't exactly know what the reasoning was, but I do remember, like, you know, I worked Cena, and he gave me a hip toss, and he tore his pec. And you can watch that tape back. You can study it. You can slow it down. You can look at it from different angles. It just looks like a regular hip toss, you know. But he somehow blamed me for that, and you know, he blamed me, like, you know, in wrestling hurts.
Yeah, no shit.
Very painful. Like,
Yeah.
where it's dangerous. Are times where you're gonna get a boo-boo every once in a while. It just happens. And so it was just crazy. We got back through the curtain with the Cena thing, and he was like in front of the boss publicly, like, you shot on me. I don't do shoot moves. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And you know, it is what it is. And then the Randy thing, you can clearly see. You can slow that tape down. His head never touches the mat. So,
yeah, that's it. So, you know, that you know, I just want to address that because, you know, once you get that fucking shit happening in the dressing room, there are some things that are really fucking tough to overcome. You know,
and that's one of them. One of them.
That's a tough one right there.
And I had a couple people. I remember Steve Austin called me one day and said, "Get out of there, kid." He's like, "You got some, you know, just get out of there. Go to TNA. Go to Japan. Get over there. Just get away from WWE for a while. You can always come back."
Wow. So he knew it. He was hearing the same shit.
It sounds to me like WWE, from all the even different guests, it sounds like it was just a big violent soap opera over there.
Oh, it is.
Backstage, right? Not only in. Yeah,
that's true.
With that being said, though, like, it's also like, it's not like that. You know, it's only like that with a few people. Everybody else just wants to work and have fun, and it's a really cool job. And I would say 99% of the boys and girls in the business are cool, are straight, you know, just
absolutely. They just want to go to work every day and do their fucking job and fucking take care of each other in the ring. I've really met so few people that would ever intentionally fucking try to hurt you in the. In fact, I don't know it.
And you know, like, when it happens, you know it happened. Like, I remember one time being in the ring with somebody who was a really, really good friend of mine, and we were trading. It was at the tail end of the match. I was just getting ready to mount my comeback, and so we were trading, going back and forth, right, and punch for punch, and he just punched me right in the eye, and I immediately, and he was like, "Sorry," and no worries, no problem. I came back, got stitched up, my eye was swelled shut. Oh,
right, I got another one.
I'm so sorry. It's not a big deal. It's okay. It's wrestling. Sometimes wrestling hurts. Like,
it's just a fucking deal, man. And
yeah, I remember I got hit in the back of the head with a chair one time, and it busted me open. And I was so mad. I was laying there. I'm like, I'm going to cuss him out as soon as we get through the curtain. And then like I got through the curtain and I was like, it's fucking wrestling. And he immediately was like, you know, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's cool, bro. Whatever. I know you didn't do it intentionally.
Right.
Very, like you just said it, Max, like very, like I personally, I can't even think of any times that I know of where somebody intentionally did something to somebody in the ring.
You know, the other side of that too is, Ken, and I think you'll agree with this, is you kind of, this may sound really masochistic, but you kind of fucking wear that shit when you get hurt in the ring as a badge of honor, because, you know, even back then, you fucking, you know, people were constantly going, oh yeah, wrestling, of course, you know, I watch that shit on TV all the time. Yeah. Is that shit fake? And then you fucking, they see you and you got a black eye and you got fucking stitches and you got fucking your hair shaved off where they, you know, you got stitches and you can't fucking lift your shoulder, and all of a sudden they're going, oh, fucking wow, you know.
I remember, you know, it's funny you say that, because it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me in the business was I worked Batista at the Great American Bash, and at the end of the match, he's supposed to like lose his shit and stomp the shit out of me in the corner, and then he doesn't obey the ref's 5 count, and so he gets disqualified, and then he just keeps stomping on me, and then he's supposed to throw me into the post a few times and give me a couple spine busters and then a power bomb. And on the very first, when the ref DQ'd him and he ran me into the post. So I'm already, you know, if you're throwing me into the post, I'm already going there.
Right.
And,
right.
You know, but you don't have to physically actually throw me. It's sort of a pantomime. Well, just for whatever reason, sometimes you get a little excited, a little amped up, and he gave me a little too much. And I just could not, like, I'm going this way and I can't go like this. And my head just hit that post so hard, and I just was pouring blood. And I remember he immediately was like, oh my God. He goes, let's just go home. And I was like, nope, keep going. And so he posted me again, and then I had to take 3 spine busters, and everyone, he was like, are you sure? Yep, I'm good. And then we got to the back, and I walked through that curtain, and I'm just covered head to toe in blood. And I walked through, and Vince was like, and I was like, was that okay for you, boss? And he was like,
are you fucking ribbon? Yeah.
How was it like wrestling with Eddie Guerrero? I love that one match when he played possum. He took the chair and hit the ground. He threw it up to you. Wasn't that for like one of the teams for Survivor Series or something?
That was a SmackDown. That was just a SmackDown match. But
SmackDown match. I loved it when he used to do that. But I remember watching that match clear as day. When he pretended like you hit him with the chair, and the referee turned around just in time when he threw the chair in your hands.
Well, it's about 20 years ago, Eddie, though, so
that was 20 years ago. That was Eddie's last match, actually. That thing you're talking about.
Was it really? How close were you with Eddie Guerrero? Close?
I was riding with him at the time. I was actually
cool.
You know, and I wasn't close with him necessarily. Like I was the green kid that asked, hey, can I ride with you guys? I just wanted to soak up as much knowledge as I could from those guys. So
yeah, of course.
Then he was gracious enough to say, yeah, you're doing all the driving, but yeah.
Well, you also were riding with I heard you were rode with Chris Benoit, and I'm sure, you know, wrestling wise, I mean, he was always nice, fun to be around, I'm sure. You know?
Yeah, that was the same time I had asked you know, it was Batista. Batista had pulled me aside and said, you know, the nice thing about when I got to SmackDown, I felt like everybody there was looking out for me. Everybody was nice. And it wasn't just me, but anybody that came up. It was like, and Batista pulled me aside and was like, look, those guys you're in the car with, because I was riding with some guys from OVW that had just gotten called up onto the road. And he was like, no offense to them, but you need to get in the car with a veteran. You're going to learn so much from being in the car with those guys. And so I just like, yeah, you're right. And I immediately went over and I asked Chris, can I ride with you guys? And yeah. And then, 20 minutes later, he came back and he was the one that said, yes, Eddie says you can ride with us, but you're doing all the driving. So it was a lot. It was, and it was pretty short lived. It was only like 3 weeks because after he passed away, then it was like Chris even said, like, I need to be with, he wanted to ride with like Chavo and those guys.
Do you think you would have rode together longer had he not have passed away?
I mean, that was the plan for me. I don't know about those guys, but
okay.
I think so.
Wow.
Well, let's talk about your school, because you being so dedicated to the wrestling business, being one of the lucky ones to actually start an actual training school. Tell us a little bit about like the early beginnings, and also like have you had some success with anybody getting into like AEW or WWE or any of the major organizations that are around?
Yeah, no. As I said before, it was something that I knew that I wanted to do early on, and I wanted to make it as easy on my students as possible to learn how to do this properly. And that's one of the things that, I pride myself on. I am not in the business of getting people to sign up and, do a quick training course and then kick them out the door. I want people to stick around. I feel like, we have students who have been with us since the beginning. One of our very first graduate is on TV every week for AEW. He's Darius Martin. Dante and Darius were like, Darius was the first graduate, and Dante is like this 15th or 16th graduate. And those guys still come whenever they can. When Darius lived in town, which he just recently moved out to Vegas, but like he would come sometimes more than like brand new students. But yeah, we train 4 nights a week. We train year round. So it's when you sign up for a course, it's you're signing up for 1 year of training. And,
do you have a local promotion, Ken, that you so these guys can go out and work some matches, or do you do it yourself? Do you have a local little promotion you do?
I personally am not promoting is not in my wheelhouse. It's a lot of stuff that
it's a tough gig.
Yeah, it really is. Like, however, there are about 10 different wrestling promotions that are local where my student, and we have a very good working relationship with them. So when the students are ready, it's like an open door policy, kind of like, hey, and I, from time to time, I'll have these promoters reach out to me and say, who you got coming up? Who can I use? I need a couple extra bodies. Who you got for me? And you know what? And sometimes I have to tell them, like, there's nobody yet, because I'm very, very picky. Like I always tell my students, like, you gotta wait for me to give you the approval before you start taking bookings.
Yeah, I mean, they can get hurt. Not only can they get hurt, and that would be number one, but number two, they're coming from your school. They have to represent your school too. So
yeah, and they can hurt somebody else too. Like not only can they hurt themselves, but I don't want them hurting anybody else. And also, I always tell them, like, I'll ask a student, like, how old are you? And 22. Okay, well, you've waited 22 years without having a wrestling match. You can wait another 6 months to make sure that your first wrestling match is good. Because one of the things that I pride myself on, and I feel like for the most part it's occurred, is when one of our students finally does have his or her first match, oftentimes somebody will say, hey, how long has that kid been working? And somebody says, that's his first match. And I want that type of reaction every time.
Yeah, of course.
Same. being in Minnesota, I would imagine you get a lot of ex high school, college athletes in various sports that come to your school. I'm wondering if you get any hockey players or ex hockey players, because back in the day, when junior hockey days and stuff, I mean, I graduated in the early '80s, '83, but if I remember right, like Marty Jannetty and I want to say Shawn Michaels, but they were actually old junior hockey players. So I'm just wondering if you get any ex-hockey players in the school and how often.
You know, it's funny you say that. The only hockey player that we've ever had was a Canadian guy that came. And yeah, so
that's odd being in Minnesota.
Yeah, he sounds like a Minnesotan.
Well, John, actually, for we get the Destination Pro stuff up here. I'm sure Josh Kappas or Josh Price. He runs Destination Pro up here in northern Minnesota, and he actually books you guys NDS. Levy Cruz and Riley Jackson. They were the tag team champions, and they are pretty impressive. He's had them. He's booked them a bunch of times for past events, and they're a fan favorite over here.
Those guys are great. We have a good track record. I feel like I've got some great students that are tearing it up on the independent wrestling scene. There's a couple others that are coming up. There are some that have just started that I feel have tons of potential. And somebody had asked earlier about any of the if any of our students have had any success besides Darius and Dante. Tiffany Stratton trained with us for the first 6 months. Cal Bloom, who wrestled in NXT as Von Wagner, who is Wayne Bloom's son, Wayne the Train, from the Beverly Brothers. Who else? Julia Hart. If you follow AEW, Julia Hart's one of our students.
Yep. Okay. Wow. So you have had some success and all that kind of, and it must make you feel good just to know that you helped these guys and gals out, because it's like, this is now for anybody that joined your school. I mean, what do you require of them in the very beginning? Like, what do they got to know, to be in your school?
They have to have a passion. They have to have a desire, and they have to be coachable. They have to listen. They got to pay attention to detail. I don't care. I don't run people through they don't have to pass a skills. Obviously, you have to be able to do certain things in order to be in this business. But I am not in the business of telling somebody, of running somebody through a series of drills and going, yeah, sorry, you don't have it. I let people arrive at that on their own. I let people arrive at that conclusion on their own, and I'm happy that I do it that way. And one of the things is that I had a student who was in my very first class, or maybe it was my second class in 2016. He had 3 left feet. This guy could not run the ropes, couldn't bump. I mean, he struggled on everything. He bought a 10-pack of private training sessions and was coming in privately, and we were working on things and trying to get him, and it just wasn't clicking. And he said, I don't think I'm cut out to be a pro wrestler, but I love the business. I want to contribute to it. What say I do managing or reffing? And we immediately shifted his training to reffing. And he's he works all the time. He travels, he knows what he's doing. He's a great referee. So I always say, like, not everybody's cut out to bump and feed, but if you love this business, if you want to contribute in some way, there's something for you to do, whether it be a manager or a referee or a writer or a promoter. Like I think three of our students, three people that have come through who didn't make it necessarily, right? Didn't go through the entire course, but they were promoters. So they wanted to be a promoter and they wanted to learn the business. One of the most frustrating things about wrestlers or for wrestlers is that promoters are oftentimes like just big kids with money who just like, look, it's, when they're kids, they play with the action figures in the wrestling ring and, this guy, and then they're doing it with real people as a promoter. And so it helps the wrestlers a lot if the promoters understand the business and understand like what we do in storytelling.
Well, Ken, we definitely appreciate having you on, and I really do appreciate that we're able to make
very
it
nice.
work. I mean, first of all, because this was just great. I have one last question for you, and this is kind of a personal question, but I figure I ask this to everybody that's in the wrestling business or anybody that's kind of become kind of that legendary status. Even if you don't feel like you have, but we all know that you have. Your name is, everybody can say your name, and everybody knows who you are. What do you think the legacy of Ken Anderson will be?
I hope that people realize that like not only was I able to get in the ring and tell stories, and my goal is to put the other guy over, right? I just wrestled James Storm for Juggalo Championship Wrestling for JCW this last weekend. My goal in that match was to put him over, to make him look good. And his goal was to make me look good, and I hope that I just hope that I achieved that. And I hope that I'm able to pass this on to as many people as possible. Like if everything came to a screeching halt tomorrow, if tomorrow something happened and a doctor said, you can never wrestle again, I've had a really good career. I'm pretty happy with the things that I've done. I've met some amazing people. I've done some crazy things that I still pinch myself. Like, I can't believe I did that. And I just want to share that with as many people as possible, honestly. So.
All right. Well, we appreciate you sharing a little bit of your life with us. And I mean, honestly, this has been great. Thanks, Ken. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Kennedy.
If you don't mind, I'd love to, like, my number, if anybody's interested in either booking me for one of these or a wrestling show, or if you're in the Twin Cities area or you want to relocate to the Twin Cities, please text me. It's my number, as Franky can attest.
Well, yeah. Now that we know that you are who you say you are, because I was kind of worried about it at first because of how we made this happen. I wasn't sure. It's like, oh, you got to be kidding me, but no, it worked out, and I'm very happy about it. I do appreciate it.
My number
Franky,
is.
You got his number?
I have his number.
I'll give it out right now. It's 507.
Pop it up. You can do it.
507-722-2776. Please text me.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
One more time. 507-722.
2776.
Now, Mama T, not a date. A phone call you can make a date on. This is a really, to book him on. You hear me?
Yeah, he's a married man.
All right.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate you, Ken, and much success to you in the future, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate all of you.
Thank you, man.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Pleasure.
Yes, man.
Bye-bye.
All right. Hey, we'll be right back. We're going to start hour number 2 here in just a little bit. Take a little quick break, and we'll be right back with
That was
more
cool.
Franky Slawson.